All right, so basically, all right, so my name is Humberto, and the reason why I picked these items as my collage is starting from the top is as an urban planning major, you also have to look at the comfort and the ability that certain things, certain seating areas in your local communities affect the not just the interpersonal experience, but the social environment you have. So I picked the top three pictures because they're all different types of benches. However, as you can see, each bench is placed specifically for a different type of environment. On the left, you have what looks like a park, and you have people who are surrounding themselves for shade, or a small community where you can see all the kids uh, play around, or in the picnic area in the back where they can sit down and just eat. The middle picture gives the sense of the person sitting at the bench where they can feel the sun, the breeze of their environment, which is the beach in that sense, and still have a pleasant time and still have a meal. And then you look at the curved bench where it looks like it could be on the sidewalk where a runner or a jogger can just walk around and sit down, tie their shoe, or sit down and feed the pigeons that are in the local area. But the sense it's three different environments that someone can actually sit there and have different types of experience while they're sitting in the same type of chairs. Going to the colored pictures of the chairs, it looks like it's one of those auditoriums where everybody is sitting there and it's not designed for comfort or anything in that type of nature, but it's one of those where you have to fit a lot of people. So the easiest way you can do it is have something that's gives support to the back, support to the individual sitting on there, and at the same time have a different perspective of I have a green chair, a black chair, a red chair, something that catches the individual eyes, so it attracts them to want to sit down on that specific chair. It ties into the social and characteristics of the individual. Then you look at on the right, and it's a concrete little picnic area at the backyard where a family could sit on the 4x4s. Um, but it gives the individual where they can come out and address it per their interests, whether it's gardening, adding pillows, laying down on basic wood. But the intent is to bring everybody together in their backyard and basically do a little bonfire, little outdoor grilling. It brings the individual socialization to the family where they can commingle on an afternoon and just relax. I put the gaming chair in there uh, mostly because it adds it's already displaying the things that we all look into, you know, for comfort. Does it provide a neck pillow, shoulder supports? You know, a gamer would see this and see that he is relaxed, doing something he enjoys, and that's playing. But at the same time, there's certain things that we all look into when we are looking for sofas, types of cars. You know, what kind of support do we have while we're driving? What kind of support do we have when we're just watching television? You know, all these different things that we have listed on here is what we look for when we're trying to make that buy for the next biggest, greatest thing. And at the same time, we look at the other two pictures where I addressed King Arthur's Round Table. Two different pictures, but at the same time, they represent the same thing. A genre within the era where it's the dual system for all individuals to sit behind a round table, meaning everybody is equal. So it shows the social structure that they adapted, even though it is based on a fictional uh, storyline. It gives everybody the sense where you sit on a round table and everybody has the exact same rights. You can use that as a perspective on the social scenes where in government where everybody has to either you sit together like you see in the movies and you see those military briefings where everybody's sitting at a round table and you address issues together and one person dictates the ruling, or you can go to where normal seatings area where it's like you can specifically address who's in charge. And it's something that was addressed in Middle Times and is still used now. Uh, you can also go for the aesthetic features where it brings your own individual perspective and idea where whoever bought this chair looks like a scorpion, but that gives their a sense of how their brain works in a way, what they like, the gothic scenes, the Beetlejuice era where everybody just wants to have something crazy inside their house. But at the same time, it could be an appealing feature for that individual because it's not just comfortable for them, but it could be uh, it represents something in their minds. You know, they can be artistic. And then the bottom two pictures that I have on there is comforts. So we talk about how we always want to sit down and be comfortable. Well, the guy on the left, you can tell he's doing some type of studies. And instead of sitting down, it gives him that posture feature where you can be laying down as well and still be productive. Then you go to the Men in Black scene where everybody's sitting in the egg chair, where from first perspective, you see it and everybody's upright, the same clothes. There's not much space in there. And if you've seen the movie, you can also remember that there's portions on there where the individual characters are trying to use the egg seats to actually write. So right there, it shows where there's not much comfort, not much stability for the individual sitting there, and it's a one-purpose seating area. And then I put the quote, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is relax, because at the end of the day, you're sitting down for a reason, whether it's the bring of social structures or talk about individualism that you have sitting at the beach. At the end of the day, you're trying to sit down because you're tired of standing up. Uh, Questions on the collage? Do you have any questions on them, comments?
Um, my question is, what do you think is the most important part of the seating design? Is it like the aesthetics or the function or what it's being used for?
Yeah, to me, I think it's based on what it's used for. And I'll give the example is so one of my pictures for the Matrix was a kid's chair, right? So I reviewed it as a six for being comfortable, right? But it's it's a biased grading because it's used for children to sit in a chair. As an adult, of course, it's gonna be uncomfortable for me. So each different type of seat that you may find is all to me based on what it's used for. That would vary on one way you purchase it, but the intent of the actual the purpose behind it. I think function will probably be a little bit more important for me when it comes to choosing something. Aesthetics will be second, and comfort.
That's a good point.
Uh, I don't know what else y'all want to look at.
I had another question because I was
Yeah,
kind of wondering for myself, what does it mean by sustainability for like the chair design? What makes the chair sustainable? Is that like the materials, or what is that talking about?
it it could be sustainable as far as the materials or sustainable towards the environment. For example, using the kids chair again, I graded a 7 for sustainability. One, because in the design, everything used on that chair is made out of recyclable materials. So on the environment side is using products we've already thrown into recycling bins and repurposed. So we're not burning any types of carbon fossil and fossil fuels uh, to remake anything. We still add carbon monoxide and affect the green gas effect by producing this item, but it's less of an impact than it would if we just went and cut a tree down and made a different chair from it.
So what's the difference between that and then the environmental impact category?
Using the pictures you had where there's a lot of greenery, the environmental impact with that will be when you have grass, and that's using those pictures then as an example. When you have grass in that area, you're also providing oxygen, right? You're giving back to the environment.
Right.
But by
Okay.
doing it, you're also changing the climate. You're changing uh, the way everything looks at. Uh, then what I learned in one of my other classes was the more concrete you have that is visible, the hotter your environment is. So by adding more greenery to the local area, you're also decreasing the temperature that's local around you.
So it like improves the urban heat island.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Were there any images you used that was like your personal favorite depiction of design? Like, were there any images that just like spoke to you in terms of like, oh, this is my favorite example of what design can look like?
So yes and no. So looking at like this benchmark here, the design that this bench on the right corner has, you can see where it's curved. So you can tell that whoever designed it, I would enjoy that chair or that seating area more than I would the far left, only because it's designed to give a better posture for the individual sitting there.
Right.
Instead of being a straight, straight wood, whereas your back is straight, this one's actually curved to where it's your normal seating portion. And that's all with your legs. But looking at the ones that I walked around with, I would say I'll say probably number 4 was probably my favorite ones that I saw there.
Mhm.
Not just because there's a similarity between 3 and 4, uh, but you can tell where the seating in number 4 is not just designed to where you can sit behind a little a fire pit, but it's also designed to give you some type of extra comfort while you're sitting there, and a sense of security where the chair is not going to fall or bend on you or tilt over while you're sitting.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Humberto.
Yep, not a problem.
I'm comfortable going second if you're okay with that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, cool. Let me like figure out my camera situation first, like really fast.
Okay, yeah, take your time.
All right, so my name is Kris, and this is my first like collage assignment. And so basically, I focused on comfort in terms of the chairs I picked, because that's like obviously one of the most important facets you think of when you see chairs. It's like one of the biggest things that has to do with its design. And I picked this first quote up here. It says, design can be art, design can be aesthetics. Design is so simple, that's why it's complicated. And I picked it because I feel that it captures how design can be such a simple decision in terms of material used, or like the shape and body of something, such as like this chair specifically is like kind of designed in a way that you aren't used to seeing a chair look like. And all of this is integral to like the feeling it provides us. I'm a psych major, and arguably I think the first thing that people think of when it comes to therapy is the classic like laying on the couch scenario. We immediately identify therapy, something rooted in self-improvement and positivity, with like the comforting space that design provides for us. And from experience, I can say that this space surrounding you drastically impacts your ability to open up in like an environment like that. And design creates a comforting space for us. And then down here, I'm not sure if it's blurry, but I have like the facets of design. It says the first step is empathize, the second step is define, the third step is ideate, the fourth step is prototype, and the fifth is test. And then I have this quote right down here. It says, simplicity carried to an extreme becomes elegance. And I feel like this simplicity quote also expands on what I'm talking about here. Because from a first glance, these chairs are very simple. And some might even be like very mundane, like this brown chair in particular. But with a designer's eye, we can kind of think about the feeling or experience that we're trying to invoke and what kind of space we're fitting this object into. And it's all in the simple details. So that was my first assignment. And then right here, I'm not sure if it's blurry, but I have my matrix assignment. And so I obviously learned like the prices of each item. I learned specifically that like a park bench is actually not as expensive as I thought it would be. I kind of realized that while I was looking at all of these different chairs, what I consider to be expensive for a chair is not really what is expensive for a chair, because it's the kind of thing, I obviously don't really have to think about because I'm not designing something. But I tried to think about like whether sustainability in terms of all of these chairs, like how heavy or durable the material is, like if it would last in like a rainstorm or something. I specifically kept thinking about. And like I think this park bench right here was made to be extremely sturdy and immovable so that children could climb like all over it and not get hurt. And this swing set, I think, invites us to partake in our environment. Speaking from experience, every time I see a swing set, I can't turn down going on it because it invokes a lot of joy and it's very simple design, especially because it's universally similar. Like every swing set has usually the same colors, the same like poles. So it reminds you of like your childhood. It's a positive connotation and it's a very, very simple design, but it kind of invites us to partake in our environment and be a part of it. And I tried to also include like some examples of somewhat poor design, such as like these two chairs with this table in the middle. These chairs are very uncomfortable to sit in. They are not made of like a very sustainable material from what I can tell. And they're easily kind of like overlooked when compared to a chair like this, which is obviously made for like kind of a almost luxury. It's incredibly uncomfortable. It's incredibly comfortable and it's expensive, and it kind of reads as like sophisticated. I think you can see like how expensive it is, but it's both. It's also aesthetically pleasing and serves its simple purpose. So those are my two designs. Are there any questions?
Not really a question, but I think a comment on your concrete bench there.
Uh-huh.
I think a good feature to look into that one is that it was created that way or designed in that way based on the environment. So looking at that and based on the background, I think that's more of an arid and probably big area that gets impacted by the sun. So that the designer could have placed that there because it would last longer instead of a wooden piece or a metal piece. It would be too hot.
Right.
So that might be something that the designer could have had there.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think it also has to do with like a lot of the time I tried to think about how these chairs would survive in like rain, if they would be like slippery, you know, if and I feel like this kind of like bench, because of the material it's made out of, you could even like stand on it and obviously it's not like slippery material, it's not going to be moved, and when it gets wet it's just going to be wet, it's not going to be you know, like damaged, like not, the fabric isn't going to be affected in like a chair like this, where obviously if it got wet there would probably be issues of like drying it out, if it got in the rain, if it got in a bad storm. But I think you're completely right about that.
I agree because I think sometimes in design it's kind of like fast fashion where people don't always design things to be durable and last for a long time. So that's what I really like about that bench too. It's sustainable in that way that it's not going to be thrown away in a couple years. It's going to last.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. And like what I like about this chair specifically, this was my grandma's chair. She had like a very like sophisticated eye for things. I feel like a lot of grandmas do. They like very like extravagant things or like very fancy things. But like, you know, this chair, like she's held on to forever, like she's had it forever and it still looks brand new. Like it's very durable, and like you would never really just throw away a chair like this. If you wanted to do something with it, you would probably donate it. Like other people would be able to thrift it or something and make it a part of their home. It's something, it's like a kind of design that's not really just going to be like thrown out, as opposed to, you know, like chairs like these that are very obviously made to be disposable, or like simple lawn chairs that, you know, are kind of like made for its simplicity. Like it's just kind of made for moment to moment convenience, like if you're sitting outside for a few minutes. But this chair is obviously made for like if you're planning to use it like long term, and if you are looking to like be in a space with it for a long time.
Yeah, and I feel like as like design gets more popular and people are more into things like interior design, they're looking at cost too. So people are trying to make things as cheap as possible. So I think that's one of the reasons it's shifting to like we're using cheaper materials and being more wasteful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, not just that though. I think, for example, your grandmother's chair there, that's also reflecting an era of when she purchased it. You know, we see it as, yeah, it's something extravagant that was brought down throughout the years, but that's also talking about the cultural aspect of where she bought it at. You know, what people looked into, what people saw was a good chair, you know, the designs,
Yeah,
what you
that's
would
a really good
normally
point. Like the vintage aesthetic
yeah.
does reflect a lot. Like, because I feel like when you look at this chair, you can kind of tell like it was owned by like a sophisticated grandma, if that makes sense. Like, it's not even a bad thing, but it's just kind of, it shows like through how really we don't really have like things that are that sophisticated or fancy anymore, and usually like you can tell it's coming from a longer time ago, or it's been passed down like through your family or something.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any questions or anything. I think they're pretty well describing everything.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
I'm ready to move whenever you guys are.
All right. Let me pull mine up again. All right, can you guys see it?
Yes.
Is my sound on? Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, so I'm also an urban planning student, and I thought it was interesting how you're a psychology student. Just being in this class together, it really like made me think about how environmental design really affects everybody. It doesn't matter like what profession you're in, like every environment you exist in, it's affecting your life in some way. So whether you're a therapist or you're just, you know, a city dweller, it affects everybody. So I thought that was interesting. But I focused my seating designs on from the urban planning perspective. So seats in public spaces. And what I really found was that the location is what matters the most. So for example, in this bottom left corner is a long row of seating. You could tell the designer really focused on the aesthetics of this one as opposed to like just adding a bunch of benches. But I like how the seats are facing both directions. So you can really sit there and walk across the street, grab a coffee, or, you know, take a break from work, or a break while you're shopping, or while you're on a bike ride. So you can really have like a bunch of different people all existing within the same space. I also was really interested in these like green seating designs, but I also found out they're not very sustainable considering grass and the maintenance of it kind of is not good for the environment. But I like this big circle one because it's kind of like a sculpture to me. So I feel like it's going to attract people to that area and to come and interact with that environment and relax. And then over here, this one on the top right, I really liked how it's like a organic kind of seating. So it's not like a metal bench or a wooden bench. It's lush and it's really different from the environment around you. When you're in a city, you're not really feeling that like nature. So I really think that's good for your mental health and de-stressing. And this picture right here, like in the middle, that was from, I believe it was Harvard University campus. So you can see everybody's walking around the campus and they could just sit down and take a break. And it was really interesting how they created that curve design. And then the bottom left, it was just an example of like a regular bench, but they put more design thought into it. So it feels more welcoming to me. Let me pull up my matrix. Can you guys see the matrix?
I still see the first one, the first like collage.
Yeah, I think you have to bring back the, or drop down the actual collage stuff. You might have to minimize it and then open up the collage itself. Unless you want to do a stop screen share and open a screen share for the collage.
Oh, here we go. Did that work?
Yeah.
Okay, so I just moved here to Mobile, Alabama. I'm from Phoenix and I was living in Miami before, but I just moved here. So I kind of went like exploring around the downtown area. It's a really historic area. So this first photo was in front of a restaurant called Roosters. And even though it's kind of considered ugly, like in its attractability, the picnic tables aren't in the best condition, but I kind of liked how it brought a vibrancy to the sidewalk, and it just added something to it, rather than there being nothing there. It's also about the function of sitting and eating with your friends, so the social aspect of it. The second picture was this pergola swing in like a little garden. So that one, it was lower on the social impact because it doesn't sit as many people, but the environmental impact, it's in a garden. I feel like it's gonna last a long time. So I ranked it a little bit higher for sustainability and comfort. And then this one, the third one, were a circle of Adirondack chairs, and it was on the campus of South Alabama University. So I like that because it was used for recreation. So like Humberto was saying, like one of the most important aspects is what are you going to use it for? So I feel like that brings a lot of value because of what they're using it for. This one, number 4, was like an amphitheater, and it had a really good design aesthetic, but I don't think it's very sustainable, again, for the grass and a lot of maintenance. But it is like good entertainment value for the community. And then the last one, this one was interesting. It was like at a restaurant, and right in front of the chair was the table, but the chairs were like swinging chairs. I didn't think it was very functional because it's not very functional to be eating in a chair that's like a swing, but it was interesting. It had the aesthetic, and it really got me to stop and like look at it and take a picture and kind of want to just hang around, you know? I think that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
So not really, let's see. I really do want to know the reason behind the design of the swinging chairs.
This one, number 5.
Number 5, yeah. Because I can see the appeal of to be able to sit down with somebody close and just enjoy a nice little swing. But you're right, eating while you're there is going to be, you're going to create a mess if you're not aiming correctly.
I feel like it was for more of like a wow factor, probably to like just attract people to come and eat there. I don't know, but I thought it was cool. It looked cool, but then when I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know if that's really functional for a restaurant.
Well, maybe it was designed to bring more younger crowd who like to sit down and just drink some wine or some beers and just be social.
Right.
I feel like you're right. Like, when you talked about those swinging chairs, I felt like maybe the whole purpose was so people would be like, "Oh, is that really functional?" And they would sit and like try it, like as kind of to get you to actually sit down at this place. Because I
Mhm.
feel like it does like, even though I know it's probably not functional, I still want to like sit there and feel what that experience is like.
Yeah, so I think it's like to draw people in.
Well, you say you're in Mobile, so I think because I've been to Alabama and I know a lot of older homes have that porch bench that swings.
Porch swing, yeah.
So maybe the designer or the owner decided to put that in there to attract the individuals who remember that sit down at their grandma's chair, or their grandma's bed in the porch and just enjoy the social aspects or camaraderie of having everybody out there.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
it could have like cultural roots. That's true.
yeah.
Oh, I forgot to show my the quotes that I had on my other one. If you want to see. So I included two quotes on my collage. The first one says this: public space should be intentional. It should be obvious that you belong. So seating is just one aspect of that, one aspect of the environment, but it really is one that's important. It shows that you belong there. So I really like that quote. And then this one over here says, every time we build anything, we affect the quality of life of people. So that's why I think it's important to put a little bit more thought into something other than just your plain old wooden bench.
Mhm.
It also reminded me of like, I don't know if you guys watched the lectures from this week, but it talked about having a sense of place. So that kind of reminded me of my whole theme here. It turns, so if you have like a places with seating can turn a place into or space. I forget what they said in the lecture, but it was like it can give you a sense of place.
Mhm.
Well, not just that. I think looking at your circle picture again, I'm just looking at it because it does have a sense of appeal. And I'm looking around the surroundings, and it looks like it's a rooftop apartment for somebody, or it could be a common space. Uh, but looking at it, I see a lot of commercial buildings, a lot of concrete stuff. And if it's a home, a condo, it could be that they miss that sense of having a backyard. So a way they did it is they just put uh, some turf throughout the backyard or the rooftop and made it look like they have a backyard. So maybe the sustainable portion on that one is instead of watering, you just it's turf, so you don't have to maintain it as much, but you still have the same effect of having a backyard or something that you can go out and enjoy and just sit down and have a not just a good time, but enjoy the view.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even notice that it was on a rooftop.
Mhm. And they got the small little plants around it to give them that evergreen smell while they're sitting there. And you don't have to maintain anything because it's all turf.